How's it going, everybody? This is Rob Novakast back with another video for you guys, and with this one, I'll be doing another episode review of What If. This will be talking about, or at least we'll be talking about, episode 4 of Season 1, and it focuses more so on Doctor Strange. And basically, the what if scenario is, what if Doctor Strange did not lose his hands, but unfortunately lost his heart? And the way it's set up is in this version of Doctor Strange's timeline, because for those who know, Doctor Strange, when he becomes, how he becomes Doctor Strange, or the Mage Supreme, or however he's called, it was because at first he lost the ability to use his hands as a surgeon, and went to the mystic arts to figure out a way to heal himself. But sure enough, in this version, instead of him losing his hands, he loses someone who is near and dear to him. And to an extent, or at least for the most part, the timeline kind of stays the same way, where we see Strange, going through his training, fighting Dormammu, and going from there. Now, it goes on to say, 2 years later, he's still mourning the person that he cared about, Christine. So he kind of gets into the idea of using the Eye of Agamotto, or the Time Stone, to try and rewrite history. But every time he tries, things don't work out. In fact, if anything, it's like it's predestined to happen. He's able to, he's visited by, I'm assuming, that presence, or that present time Mage Supreme, who, by the way, a lot of the characters are voiced by the original actors, which is awesome, including Benedict Cumberbatch, I believe, which I found it awesome that he played himself in this, because there's a moment which I want to get into where he does really cool voice work. But the Mage Supreme talks about how he cannot change what happens to Christine, and that it is a fixed point in time. I know they use a different terminology for it, but kind of like I'm calling it as it was for Doctor Who. It's a fixed point in time, meaning you can't change a fixed point in time. Otherwise, if you do, then all of reality will just cease to exist for that universe. But he doesn't want to believe her. So what he ends up doing is going off to try to achieve his selfish desires. He ends up finding the lost library of Cagliostro. Or I think, Cagliostro. Hopefully I said that name correctly. And through all the knowledge that he collects from the books, proceeds to bring forth creatures from other dimensions and take on or absorb their power. And to a large degree, he unfortunately is... I'm going to say it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see this segment. Because at first it doesn't work for him, which, by the way, we get a reference from the tentacle monster, or the Destroyer, as I'm coining it, from the first episode. And it kind of knocks his ass to the ground when he asks for a couple of its tentacles, which I thought was funny. And afterwards, he kind of changes his game plan and decides, you know what, if you guys aren't going to give me your powers willingly, then I'll take them by force. And we see one by one all of these different creatures that he takes into himself. And honestly, it's cool. And it really kind of shows what happens to him by the end of everything. And when he is finally completely done with his mission to collect enough power to save Christine, he then, which, by the way, there's a character that they introduced, who was the librarian of the Lost Library. We find out that apparently Doctor Strange, collecting power, has been doing this for ages or centuries, and the librarian is old and dies, but before he dies, he tells him that apparently he's only living half a life. And it's uncovered that apparently the Mage Supreme did something before Doctor Strange took off. She fragmented the timeline into two pieces. The good Doctor Strange and the dark Doctor Strange. So at this point, it's... And unfortunately, Doctor Strange, the good one, as he leaves the sanctum, realizes that all of reality is crumbling. We see slowly that all of existence, everyone and everything, is slowly coming apart. And thanks to the Mage Supreme, or a kind of glimpse of the Mage Supreme, she tells him what's going on. So he proceeds to take on his darker self. Now, before I talk about the fight, or at least briefly talk about the fight, because there's not, I don't want to spoil too much. I want to talk about the voice work real quick. One, because I'm glad, because if it is Benedict Cumberbatch, I don't know why I said Peter, but Benedict Cumberbatch, he does a really excellent job with playing, his normal self as Doctor Strange and this evil version. In fact, to an extent, I could be wrong, but I think he was channeling a little bit of Smog. Now, for those who don't know but Benedict Cumberbatch, I did it again, I just did it again. Benedict Cumberbatch voiced Smog in the Hobbit films, which he does a really good job with voice work with that. So to an extent, when you hear the evil Strange talk, it sounds very kind of like, I don't know, like he sounds evil, and he does a really good job sounding evil. And again, it sounds like he's kind of pulling in a little bit of his work from Smog in this, and it's so cool. But either way, Strange, or Doctor Strange, and Evil Strange end up fighting or confronting one another. But unfortunately, I mean, with all the power that Doctor Strange has, or the good Doctor Strange, it's not enough. Because eventually, I don't want to spoil the fight, because the fight is actually really good. Eventually, the evil Doctor Strange wins and takes on his good self. And with the newfound power that he has, he proceeds to do what he wanted and try to eliminate a fixed point in time. But because of this, he ends up breaking all of reality. And we actually have a moment where, which I should mention too, there is a moment in this show, or this episode, where while this Doctor Strange, or the Dark Doctor Strange, is collecting, energy from all these different dimensional beings, we hear the Watcher talk, and he somehow hears, or kind of not recognizes, but realizes that there's somebody there watching him, but kind of shrugs it off to collect more power. By the end of it, we see that Christine is slowly disintegrating. Basically, her whole body is, breaking down with all of reality. Doctor Strange tries to stop it, but apparently there is this prism wall that keeps him from completing or doing anything. Eventually, we have a moment with the Watcher, who he has a conversation with, pleading the Watcher for help, but the Watcher, unfortunately, mentions the fact that he can't. That he's been warned, and unfortunately, if he could interfere, he would, but at this point, he can't, because he's only there to observe. And ultimately, we see all of existence for the Doctor Strange, or the evil Doctor Strange, collapse. But not entirely. If anything, creating a prison for Doctor Strange in this, what looks like a purple gemstone. Now, For a second, like when I saw this film first, or not film, but when I saw this episode, when I saw this little image, for some strange reason, it kind of reminded me of Wishmaster. For those who don't know what that movie is, instead of a lamp, you have a genie that's stuck inside a gemstone, and whoever basically rubs the gemstone is given 3 wishes, or at least is forced to be given 3 wishes from this genie, who, by the way, is an evil son of a bitch. And once he's freed, he basically grants wishes only to kind of screw you over so he can gain more power, which I thought was funny, especially with some of the wishes. It's honestly great. It really is. But all in all, so yeah, that image kind of popped in my head when I saw this. And it doesn't help too that we see, like, again, the evil Doctor Strange trapped in this little prison of his own making. So all in all, this was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to anything new that pops up for, or at least the next several episodes. I know for a fact that I have a lot of catching up to do, because I kind of got into this a little bit late. But either way, I'm really looking forward to, seeing what's to come. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob of Novakast signing off. Have a good one. Take care. And I will see you guys in the next video.